Tommy Fury, who recently took a break from fighting Jake Paul, has received a challenge from the most dangerous fighter who could call him out, Viddal Riley. Will Fury be able to defeat such an experienced and powerful boxer? You will find out now. Numbers. Let's begin this video by sticking to the facts. Although mathematics may not always predict the outcome in boxing, it provides us with a reliable criterion to evaluate fighters, their experience, and number of fights. Usually, when all other factors are equal, the fighter with more fights tends to emerge victorious. Viddal Riley has an unblemished record of 8-0, while Tommy Fury boasts an impressive record of 9-0. Despite being ranked 39th and 40th, their experience seems to be almost equal. But let's get back to their amateur past to get a better understanding of their abilities. In the old school approach, fighters had to compete in numerous amateur fights, sometimes up to 100 before turning professional. Unlike current trends, this approach allowed them to perfect their technique and hone their skill. Viddal Riley performed admirably in the amateur boxing circuit, boasting a record of 41-8. However, it's a different story when it comes to Tommy Fury's amateur career. According to BoxRec, he doesn't have one, and other sources suggest that he only had 12 amateur fights. This lack of experience could explain why his opponents have terrible records, as he may not be ready to fight top-tier fighters. Viddal's opponents have a combined record of 50-35, including fights against relatively well-known fighters like Shehepo. On the other hand, Tommy Fury's opponents currently have a combined record of 37-271, with most of them losing dozens of fights after losing to Tommy. Generally, this scenario applies to any new fighter. Without an amateur record, they could either be a prodigious talent or overrated. The same applies to Joe Fournier, a subject of one of my videos, who has no amateur experience and is unlikely to defeat KSI. However, it's essential to recognize that statistics like these only give Viddal a slight advantage, and it doesn't necessarily mean he will win. Skills matter much more, and Tommy Fury is constantly improving his technique. We saw Jake Paul, who has less experience, knock down Tommy Fury, indicating that experience is crucial, but not the only determining factor in a fight. But what's even more important is how the fighter fights, and that's where things get interesting. Viddal Riley. KSI's former coach is much less aggressive than his student. Viddal Riley is a very calculated boxer who fights intelligently and doesn't force. He patiently waits for the right moment to strike, and then thanks to his jab, he quickly gets a feel for the distance between him and his opponent. Tommy Fury is also known for his incredible jab, which helped him defeat Jake Paul. However, Viddal's jab is equally impressive. Unlike Fury, who uses a light jab, Viddal puts his whole body into it, making each jab a powerful blow. Riley's speed and precision are also noteworthy. In his second fight, he deliberately threw slow and weak attacks in order to surprise his opponent and knock him out immediately. He often does this so that opponents get used to a slower pace and forget how fast and strong Viddal actually is. Viddal's combination punches are deadly. In his fight against Ross McEwen, he toyed with his opponent until finally delivering a right hook to the body, after which the opponent curled up in another direction, expecting an attack from the left, but there was only a feint, after which Riley knocked him out. Riley's ability to think on his feet and adapt to his opponent's moves is a testament to his impressive boxing IQ. However, Riley's meticulous style can often leave him vulnerable to danger, as opponents feel comfortable and press him hard, like Anis Taj did in their second-round fight. This pattern tends to repeat, so Riley always prepares with small slips and counterattacks, using hooks or uppercuts to punish overconfident opponents. During his fight with his most experienced opponent, Shehepo, he forced the opponent to rush in with an attack and caught him with the very same uppercut. Riley's counterattacks are formidable, making it risky to press him since his traps are so unpredictable. And it's worth noting his defense. He has a huge amount of slips and dodges. He's constantly in motion. The better he reads his opponent, the more punches he can evade. So Riley is a legit boxer with excellent technique, continually adapting to different opponents and having only few weak spots. However, his endurance is still a question mark, since he sometimes appears tired earlier than expected. And how will he withstand an experienced boxer who uses feints and applies pressure, and whom he cannot catch with counterattacks? Tommy Fury. Tommy has everything in his arsenal to defeat Riley. He pressures his opponents, throws lots of feints, and as we saw in his fight against Jake, he is extremely durable. He and Viddal are similar in that they are both faster than their opponents and both disrupt them with quick jabs. However, Tommy prefers to keep his distance. He feels so confident in his jab that when he was hitting Jake with it, he didn't even bother to block because Paul couldn't get close to him. However, he should have blocked some of those punches because he missed many just because he didn't have his guard up. I hope he did it to show Jake how little he respects him, because if he does the same against Riley, it won't end well. For a fighter who has less speed and a weaker jab, it will be extremely difficult to get close to Tommy, who intercepts any attempts to advance with his jab. To beat Tommy, you have to pressure him. Otherwise, it will never happen. Tommy is too good when he has space behind him. He expertly controls the distance and counters his opponents. Space is the reason why he can easily use his jab and lead hand to disrupt his opponent, read their reaction, and find an opening for an attack. He always has the option to get out of range. As the fight with Paul showed, this really makes it difficult for him, especially when he's pressured in the clinch. However, the main mistake shown in that fight was that Tommy constantly moves to his left. Almost all of his jabs go with that movement. This is a good technique if used wisely at the right time, but Tommy moves to his left all the time, which is why he got knocked down by Jake Paul. He was moving to his left, as usual, and was caught by a counter jab. That's why he lost his balance, because he didn't expect Paul to surprise him. This is what Tommy needs to fix in his upcoming fights. He needs to move much more diversely. Prediction. Fury usually wins because of the difference in speed and combination. Jake Paul, for example, looked slow, and his punches were quite sloppy compared to Tommy's attacks. Viddal Riley is as fast as Tommy, explosive, and that's exactly what Jake Paul was missing to explode with his attacks. And most importantly, he is patient. Considering the fighter's excellent jabs, the fight will be decided in close exchanges, and in those, Viddal will definitely be able to win because he has more experience in such exchanges, unlike Tommy, who is strong only at a distance.